of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Like I said, I am tired tonight. I'm like a ping pong ball all over the place today. Okay, with that, roll call of the board. Oops.
Well, we are live, but let me just hit the button real quick. I apologize. We're live, but I still have to record the meeting for the minutes. And we are good.
Okay, Treasurer Wiggle-Bazzy.
Here.
Trustee Tuthill.
Here.
Trustee Renko.
Here.
Trustee Brake.
Here.
And
Did you forget my name?
yeah, I
Trustee Edry?
Trustee Edry. I'm having a bad day today.
I mean, it's only been 17 years. Come on.
I'm sorry, Tracy. And Supervisor St. Charles is here. Clerk Sedlak is absent. Sorry, Tracy. I'm
No problem.
having a bad day today.
It's okay.
Okay, with that, we do have a quorum. We can conduct business tonight. With that, next item is approval of the agenda. We are removing the number 7A, swear-in officer. We're removing that from the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Told you, Trish, you should be doing this tonight. Next item is call to the public. Anyone wishing to address the Township Board, now is your time to do so. You have 3 minutes. Seeing no response, no call to the public, we will close the call to the public and move on to the consent agenda. You have the approval of the May 7th, 2025 regular board meeting minutes and the approval of the submitted bills list in the amount of $285,897.11.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Okay, we have motion and support. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Department head reports. As my usual, I'll go out to Police Chief first.
We have informally passed our accreditation process. That was today, so they still have like a review and everything to go through to make it actually go. Miles Teachworth, our former cadet, is in week 2 of his FTO, and we are still getting pooped for applications. So, and we may be losing an additional officer to another department.
We doing what?
Losing another officer to another department,
Oh,
so working the wrong direction.
we get to train them and they move on.
Yeah, he came from somebody else
Okay.
trained him before we did.
All right, thanks, Chief. Tricia, do you have a report tonight?
Other than Treasurer's office is running pretty good. We're actually now back in full swing after utility billing being due last week. We're in full swing prepping the 2025 summer tax bills. So we'll be working on those in the next couple weeks, looking for millage rates and different things, working with Ryan from Woodhill on just doing some new procedures and kind of making things a little more efficient in the office when it comes to distribution. So working on that, and I just want to thank the police department for letting me be a part of your accreditation in the interview today. So that was very humbling, and loved talking really good about the department and just how much I support education and accreditation. So other than that, the trifecta starts with us between taxes and utility billing coming up again. So here it goes again.
Yep,
That's it for me.
that's it for you, okay? Michael's not here, so I will finish it up. Just a couple quick things. One, at the sewer treatment plant, we've noticed in our monitoring wells that sodium levels have been increasing over the last several years. So with that said, just before I took this week off, I sent out what I call a Mark's love letter to all 400-plus residents about sodium chloride, and that they cannot discharge of water softeners into the wastewater treatment plant system. And that was interesting. The phone calls coming in, the letters coming in, we didn't know this. It's been in the ordinance since 2013. Even prior to the ordinance in 2013, water softener discharge has been prohibited. My understanding, it's prohibited by the county code, drain code, and it's also, the state of Michigan calls water softener discharge into a wastewater treatment plant an illicit connection. So with all that said, life has been interesting lately, and so we are going to continue that message out there. What was interesting today is to try to offer some assistance to the residents on, okay, what can you do with your water softener discharge? I went online, and that was really a lot of help, because almost every water company that has a website proposes to put it to the wastewater treatment plant, if the municipality allows it, in small letters. So that's their lead off, but then they go into what we've been telling everybody, it has to go into a dry well. It can go outside onto the lawn, but your grass is gonna get discolored or die. But there are a number of different ways: French drain, dry well, you can make a constructed swale with some pea gravel. You're not talking about a lot of discharge. The average water softener discharge is about 10 gallons, maybe every 7 days or so. So it's an educational process, so we're going through that. Also, I sent out the notices to everybody at the same time regarding the sewer rates for the upcoming years. That went out. We talked about how we were going to get the word up. Since I was sending a letter, I made it one pager, and I put the rates on the back side of the page. So,
Mark, was that from the salt going in from Hidden Lake?
what's that?
The salt going into the sewage drain?
No, but it's fair to say that if the sodium and chloride levels in our monitoring wells are elevated, there's probably a direct venting from that groundwater to Hidden Lake. So, I mean, there is, and you can spread the word, there is an advantage for everybody to take the bull by the horns. Now, with respect to Hidden Lake, granted, if you take it off the sewer plant, you're not sending it to the sewer plant, but if you're sending the water softener out to your yard, it's going into the lake. Either way, it's gonna go into the lake. The other, and I think in your subdivision, I thought it was required for potassium chloride.
If you have a water softener.
If you have a water softener. That is a solution, except that, we have to be careful, even though our MPDES permit for the water softener, the treatment plant is set at 220 milligrams per liter for sodium. I believe our limit on chloride is 450 milligrams per liter. And the chloride is not a health issue like sodium is, but it's an aesthetic issue. But we still have to meet those standards. But certainly potassium chloride is a way to go, but it's 3 times the cost of regular sodium. And a lot of times what you'll find is people will switch to try to comply with the ordinance, and after they buy a few bags of that, they're going back to the other stuff. So that's not a solution.
Right.
Also, you've heard me talk about the PFAS issues that we have out at sewer treatment plant. Yes, after Mala and her company went out there and did all the testing, they did confirm, although their numbers were a little bit different than what the state's numbers were. But yes, we do have PFOS showing up in our monitoring wells. So Eagle wanted to come out and they wanted to test some of the area residential wells. And their first letter that they were going to send out, both Anthony and I objected to the letter. Because the way it was worded, all we could see was mass hysteria. When a letter went out and you got want to test your well for PFAS and PFOS.
Yeah.
They reworded the letter, and I have to give them credit. They did it in a way with the last paragraph, and I wish I had it in front of me, but acknowledged that PFOS and PFOS is coming to the Hidden Lake Sewer Treatment Plant because of its users and not anything that Green Oak Charter Township is doing or is caused by the wastewater treatment plant. That's it. Bingo, I love that, because I can use that later. That's a statement from Eagle.
Yeah.
So, there's that.
You're still responsible for it, though.
Yeah.
Where is the PFAS coming from? Is it all the way down into the water table, or is it still coming from the rivers from
No.
previous contamination?
What's coming to us is from individual users. It's whatever you put down your toilet, your sink, that's coming to us. That's nonstick cookingware, makeup. Makeup has a lot of PFAS and PFOS. You go in, you wash it off, down the drain, comes to the sewer treatment plant.
Interesting.
You have all your packaged products that, you know, people eat, especially, I hate to pick on McDonald's because they all use the same type of packaging. But, you know, all of that non-stick wrapping stuff all has PFAS and PFOS. And you ingest it, you send it to us. That's a polite way of saying it. So, yeah, it all goes down the drain. Everything goes down the drain, it comes to us. We're the focal point here at the end. So that's why nothing we do generates PFOS and PFAS. No products that we put in, because we put nothing in the waste stream.
Right.
But we end up with it. And this is something that is generic to groundwater discharge plants, based on the rules, and this is the absurdity of the rules. If you have a surface water discharge plant, like Brighton Township, that just, in Northfield Township, that just, you know, their end result goes into a lake or stream, PFOS and PFAS is not an issue. It's a pass-through. So you can pass it through to the river, but we have a problem if it's in the ground. Environmentally, that doesn't make any sense. So, one of the other things too, talking about the sodium chloride, when I went on the websites today, you know, on every one of these websites, they indicate that you can go to wastewater. They also say that there's no science out there that says that putting your water softener discharge into your septic is bad. And that is contrary to everything that we've been told, because sodium destroys the biological process in your septic tank, just like it does a sewer treatment plant. The information out there is totally inaccurate, so, but that's today's report.
Great.
Okay.
All right, with that, we'll go on to correspondence, and none is needed tonight. So, let's see. Try to get my computer up to speed here. First item is resolution number 10-2025. This is a 2025-2026 budget appropriations correcting resolution. When Ryan Clark from Woodhill was comparing the approved budget with our resolution of adopting the budget, I don't know whether it was me, probably me, that did some fat fingering in the numbers. So this is the resolution that corrects our adopting resolution and what we approved in the actual budget. So it's a housekeeping item. Any questions?
You looking for a motion to adopt?
Yep.
Okay. I'll make that motion to adopt resolution number 10-2025, the 2025-2026 budget appropriations correcting resolution, Green Oak Charter Township.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and support. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Okay, we'll do a roll call. Treasurer Wigglebassey?
Yes, sorry. It is a lot.
Trustee Edry?
Yes.
Do not forget. Trustee Tuthill?
Yes.
Trustee Brake?
Yes.
And Trustee Ranko?
Yes.
And Supervisor St. Charles, yes. Clerk Sedlak is absent. Resolution is adopted. Okay, I wasn't gonna do it twice in one night. All right, with that, thank you. We'll move on to Economic Development Council of Livingston County Agreement. If you would.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is John Vorhorst. I'm the founder and principal of a small boutique consulting company based in Hamburg Township here in Livingston. And I'm here on behalf of the Economic Development Council of Livingston County, and more specifically, standing in for Janelle Best, the chamber executive in Howell, who is deeply involved in addressing some issues that have cropped up in recent months relative to the way the county conducts its economic development activities. I'm here not so much to present. I don't have a 48-page PowerPoint of any kind. I'm here to essentially have a conversation with you, kind of share with you, and I'm sure that most of this is well known to you, a couple of significant events that have occurred over the past few months relative to how the county has conducted its business in support of industry. And then talk a little, answer any questions you may have about the direction that we're headed with this. So let me start by the two significant events that occurred, and I'm sure you're well aware of it. Several months back, the county commissioners elected not to renew a longstanding contractual agreement that they had with Ann Arbor Spark to conduct the county's economic development activities here in Livingston. I believe there's a 12 or 13-year history of that contract being in force. That was quickly followed by, kind of a scrambling around, if you will, by the council, the Economic Development Council, to see if there were an opportunity to do a lateral, if you will, continue to provide the kind of services that Spark was providing, but do it out of, a Livingston-based economic development organization. And the hope at the time was that Marcia Gabrowski, who had been Ann Arbor Spark's dedicated executive to the Livingston County activities, would remain and make that transition to the new economic development organization. That was going along quite nicely until about 2 weeks ago when Marcia announced that she had taken a newly formed position as the Downtown Development Authority executive in the city of East Lansing. So, essentially what we're left here with is a kind of situation where we don't have the continuity of, Marcia's experience. Marcia was an outstanding representative in our estimation for the county. She was a Pinckney native, understood, the local area very well, was a professional economic development executive. So essentially what has transpired since that is Janelle, with the support of her chamber board in Howell, and a subsequent or a corresponding approval of the Economic Development Council in Livingston, has signed an employment agreement that would essentially allow the Howell Chamber to house an economic development organization. It would be a separately incorporated 501c3 nonprofit entity that would simply be housed at the chamber and possibly share some back office support with the chamber staff in an effort to kind of reduce the overhead to the new economic development organization. So our understanding is that the Green Oak Township Board will be the determining entity for ongoing financial support for the Livingston County Economic Development Council. And I'm here essentially to appeal to you by way of explaining how we're going at this for continued support from the board. So that in a nutshell is, where we stand. And I'm happy to answer any questions about the process that we're undertaking, my own qualifications for the work, my history, and I've got a fairly decent amount of history here in Livingston, in addition to being a resident. But I'm happy to share any of that with you as well. So thank you for your time again and your consideration. And with that, I'd like to open it to questions.
Go ahead, Tracy.
My concern with this always, especially with the budget so tight, is measurables
Right.
and how it affects Green Oak. Because generally what I see with these kind of councils is they kind of focus on the county seat, which in our case is Howell. And I want to see how it's going to directly benefit my neighbors.
Understood. It's an excellent question, and, I think your concerns are obviously valid. When something is, housed in a certain location, there's a presumption perhaps that there might be a Howell-centric approach to the work. It's really designed to emulate the kind of, posture that Ann Arbor's Park had taken, which was clearly a countywide effort, with an understanding that, there are 13, townships in the county, each with their own unique perspective on development. And, I'm well aware of some of the, townships where development has been quite controversial. The fact is, I've been doing this kind of work for 40 years now. Because of Livingston County's unique geographic location and the transportation network that serves it, it's no surprise to anyone that development is coming. You see it every day. I've seen it for the 5 years that I've lived here, having moved here from New Orleans. Things are changing. And I think we have the opportunity to develop an entity that is responsive to the concerns and desires of each individual township. This would be designed with a dedicated local professional executive at the helm, providing that we can find the funds to support that sort of expertise.
Right.
That listens carefully, to the desires of each of the townships. And my impression, right or wrong, is that Green Oak has been relatively open-minded about development, providing that it's development that's done smart.
Right.
And there's absolutely no way we can assure, but that is the guiding principle for the way we're going at the staffing of the new organization. Does that address your?
Well, will we see something in the form of like quarterly results and how they affect
Yes.
Green Oak directly, or will it be county?
No, it could very well be, those kind of metrics could certainly be developed at the township level. This is going to be done in collaboration with the townships, once we identify what level of financial support we get to, which will be the determining factor of how we can staff.
Okay.
And the type of candidate that we
Understood.
feel we can, reasonably expect to bring into the position.
Okay.
James, do you have any comments?
I'll just listen for a little while.
Okay. Trish?
Yeah, so my thing is, obviously, this was presented and put in the packet, I think, last week. And I know that you've said that recently, in the last 2 weeks, Marcia left and went to the DDA, which was probably the person that was kind of like spearheading all of this, like setting it all up. My biggest concern is being part of an association that I was in before, and we lost a key person and also lost a lot of the different things in that group. So my biggest concern is that association failed. And I'm not saying this is going to, but my biggest concern is, in here is a dollar amount that you guys want the township to, put forth for that, but you're reinventing the wheel. And my biggest concern is, and I think Tracy might have made a little bit of a point, is, are we going to see how it affects the township? Are we going to see if it benefits the township? I've been in Green Oak just at the treasurer for just a little over a year and a half. And a lot of our business hasn't come a lot from the EDC or even Sparks. So my biggest concern is doing a service for our residents and making sure if we're putting this money forward for now a new organization that is not being headed by the person that originally was the person that headed it. I just have a lot of concerns on the financial side, as well as, the transparency for our residents and the money that we're putting into the organization. And again, it's no disrespect in any
thank you.
way.
I appreciate
just
that.
am coming from the side of
Yeah.
the finance part, so.
Thank you. Your point's well taken, and let me address it. First of all, let me say that despite, the obvious disappointment that Spark felt about the results of the vote, that team has been extremely forthcoming with records, all the data that had been compiled relative to the work in Livingston has been readily made available to us. They've also been extremely generous with their approach to making certain that some significant grants that were under consideration and being applied for by Spark on behalf of Livingston, and these are in the form of workforce development grants that can support small and local businesses. They are working with us hand in glove to make certain that there is no gap that occurs in that. So I give the Spark team immense credit because there is some emotion for them in this. The loss of that contract was deeply felt. So we are, again, Janelle is finding resources on her chamber team right now to administer, pick up, in the absence of Marcia, some of the grant administration, make sure that transfers over. I've been working with Janelle for about 2.5 weeks. I should add, previous to that, I was sort of on a pro bono basis, providing some advisory support. As soon as we knew that Spark was, leaving the county, she called, and I did some work with her on a pro forma budget for what a new economic development organization might look like and how we could, try to work Marcia back into this new organization. We've had DTE Energy call us with a very large-scale project that was, looking at a site in the far western end of the county. We've had the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. We had the call with them this afternoon relative to another project that had an interest in Livingston. We've had an appeal from a local company. I'm not exactly sure if they're in Green Oak or possibly in Northfield, but Little Diablo Salsa called us. They are looking for a letter of support from an economic development organization for a grant application that they're putting together to help for an expansion. These are the kind of activities that currently there is literally no one at the helm of the ship in Livingston County. So we are scrambling. All I can say is, what I want to convey to you here is that we have the full support of the Livingston County Economic Development Council. We have the full support of Janelle's board at the chamber to make this work and to find the very best talent that we can to, to come in and pick this up, because the clock is ticking, and this is a county that is going to grow. When you consider that on the eastern end of it, you've got the I-96 corridor, and I remember the day when you could drive through South Lyon and even Novi, and it was cornfields. We know what it is today. On the other side, you've got Lansing, and south of here, you've got Ann Arbor. Let's face it, folks, the county's very well positioned, and, enterprises are going to be paying attention to that. You're aware of it. You're right here on that corridor, and you see the opportunities. So, does that address your concern?
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
it.
Thank you.
Randall?
I'll pass.
Yes? Dan?
All I can do is thank Tracy and Tricia for their comments, and I fully agree with them, and I have the same thoughts. And I just, it seems like everything's on the west end of the county, and we're on the east end, and
We're at the very border of the Northfield.
So I guess I'm happy to express my ignorance on this topic, in that I mean, we've been with Spark for how many years now? Up until the contract.
12 or
was terminated.
13 years.
Yeah.
Well, let's put it this way. I can't remember when I got involved in the original Livingston County EDC, and I'm not going to throw names out there, but I think that was very early on in my being supervisor, and that's at least 25 years ago. So we were with Livingston EDC in the early on, and then things started, there was a little bit of division, things happened, and Spark came on. So I think we've been with Spark
2018?
It's been a bit.
Yeah, it's gotta be at least
It was
15
at least
years.
12
That
years.
long? Okay.
Yeah, maybe 10, 15 years. It's been longer than 10, but not quite sure.
12, 13, I'm going to say.
Yeah, yeah, okay, so let's call it 13 years. So, we've been with Spark for that period of time, so,
So I guess my question is, and this is probably from your perspective, Mark, I mean, I feel like we're positioned, our county's position, or our township is positioned where it attracts development just inherently. And so my question is by signing on to something like this, and I know it's hard, you can't parse out what came via what avenue every time, but how much does being involved in something like this actually benefit the residents historically?
well, I think it actually, the benefit is in my opinion, job retention. Keeping jobs here in Green Oak Township that hopefully are Green Oak Township residents is huge. But also, I think attracting developers, commercial developers in those commercial areas that we wish to see developed. And that kind of brings me to where my notes are here. And this is where I'm having heartburn. It's the connection, and no disrespect to anybody. And certainly, I don't want to start a war with City Howell. But to sign this up with this, where it's based in Howell, we're going to get residents asking, well, what about here? And when I look at it, okay, areas where economic development can assist is the Kensington corridor, which is an industrial area. And, and I have been, certainly chomping at the bit with other board members that used to attend the Spark meetings and EDC meetings that we need to find fire protection for the Kensington corridor, and it's gone on deaf ears. Don't know why. Maybe the messenger, I don't know. The M36 corridor, another area just absolutely ripe for development. 8 Mile Road, the 8 Mile corridor is all commercial. Matter of fact, it's our highest intensive use zoning. It's general industrial, that whole 8 Mile Lehman Road area there. And I've always felt that once the intersection of 8 Mile Road, Whitmore Lake Road, and that whole mess that we used to have down there for the on and off ramps got resolved, and we got 3 roundabouts down there. I thought, wow, things are going to take off. And it never did. There's nobody pushing that area. And so, unfortunately for me, I think if we were going to align ourselves with economic development, it's got to be somebody that's really pushing that area. I don't care, and I say this with no disrespect, I really don't care between Howell and Fowler. I don't care. It doesn't help us. And that's where I'm having a lot of heartburn, and especially, and I'm going to make it economic, because we've had to tighten our belts really tight around here. We had to cut out our large item cleanup days this year for the residents. I'm having problems trying to justify $20,000 out of our budget. And that would require a budget amendment right now because we didn't budget for it this year.
Is this a 3-year commitment that I'm looking
Yes.
at, or can we
Yes.
commit to a certain amount of time and see, yeah, the measurables are there, things are happening?
No, they're asking for.
That's what I thought.
They're asking for 2025, 2026, and 2027. And
That's what I thought.
And again, you're in a tough spot. I've been where you're at on an association that had to kind of rebuild everything, but I have the same issue. We just had to put something on our website that we couldn't do large item cleanup due to budget restraints. And working at Hamburg for the 15 years and then coming here and then going to an EDC meeting, a Sparks meeting, and I'm about the why. Like, why are we part of that? What are they bringing to the table? And when you look at this agreement and you see that Howell Chamber is kind of running it, my thing is if they're gonna form an EDC because of the disconnection with Spark, it should be just an EDC that isn't based out of one, it needs to be an association manager that has no connection to, I think, one specific area. This is just my personal preference. I know this is what the EDC is made of, but I also can't see saying, let's spend this to see what comes out of it. If it's that baby steps start and we see how this EDC grows, and then people start putting money in, but that's a big ask for something that's basically being rebuilt, correct? If I'm saying that mistakenly, because this is our normal contribution each year, and it's the same contribution, and I think a lot of other municipalities have stepped out of being connected to it, so they want the same amount of contribution, but it's being built from the ground up, per se.
So I don't have experience with Spark because I'm new on the board.
Right.
So how was performance of Spark? Just, how was our previous performance of Spark? Was it worthwhile?
Well,
And I've only been here 2 years.
I
apologize.
asked
I didn't want to
Every-
ask that question, but yeah. I don't
Every
know.
year I asked, can you show me something Green Oak
Yeah.
specific? They always told me yes, and I always waited, and I never received it.
Okay,
we,
that answers my
yeah,
question.
I have to preface that too, is I think we had maybe 2 presentations in 13 years.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, yeah, we have to have some measurables to be able to deliver to the residents. And that's the problem, we were having problems the last couple of years with even, do we continue to fund EDC Spark? And it's been an ongoing discussion here, but, we kind of kept with it because we had an agreement. But I got to go back, okay, large item cleanup day, I brought that up. Here, we are trimming everything. We're now, right now, working on raising fees here. We're putting together a price sheet, start charging the homeowner associations from using this room, which we never have done. And then we're gonna spend $20,000 for EDC that's housed in Howell. I can't make the argument. I'm so, and then again, not disrespectful. I know you're in a really bad spot here.
You are in a very bad spot, and I can't even imagine, but I have to
It would be
agree.
more palatable for you if it was physically housed in Green Oak?
I don't even know if it would be, on my part. My part is, I want to see that I'm getting half of that $20,000 that I'm putting in a 1 year back in any sense. And I've asked for these numbers for 2 years from Spark and EDC. Show me what you've brought to Green Oak, because our growth is not EDC or Spark. It's been builders that know this area is growing. Tracy's asked for years and years, again, this is new things I'm learning. Everything we've spent in the last years, we can't tell our residents, well, yeah, we paid $20,000 and we got a good $10,000 out of that, at least half of it. We can't show that they give us facts from there that they brought that to the table. So if you guys can come up with a plan, a master plan or a strategic planning that says, here's what we're planning on doing, and I know that doesn't help you keep it open and keep the bank open, but we can't justify it to the residents.
Well, okay.
That could do one large cleanup day.
Yeah. We've got a significant amount of residential development coming in here at Winans and Whitmore Lake Road, which we know, and that has nothing to do with EDC. But there's a certain amount of commercial lots that are there that Debbie and I are dealing with, look-seers on a daily basis. We've got people doing the looky-loos on 8 Mile Road and looky-loos on M36 of Whitmore Lake Road. We have a lot of activity, and so And that's without EDC. Yeah, and again, no disrespect.
So it would be your expectation then that an economic development, or that I'm hearing that you were dissatisfied with Spark. It was the attraction of additional investment that was disappointing to you? There's an old adage, in economic development, it's called the 80-20 rule. 80% of the economic activity in any given ecosystem is generated by your existing base of enterprises. So a great deal of effort, was on Spark's part, in the county was actually dedicated to the retention and expansion of existing enterprises, and that took the form of working with them on securing grants, doing workforce training, understanding, what was keeping them from expanding here, or were they struggling with, finding talent, that sort of thing. And that would certainly, Ann Arbor Spark, by virtue of its proximity to the University of Michigan, really purposefully never really had a strong industry attraction program. They felt that their main source of economic prosperity was going to be spinning out tech companies out of the University of Michigan, incubating those, and having them grow in the local economy. That's why they hired a guy like Paul Krutko, their CEO, who came from, guess where? Silicon Valley. And he understood that model, and it's worked brilliantly, to a lot of people's, unhappiness in Ann Arbor because it's worked maybe too well in that community. I don't want you to be hung up on the fact that this is, there's an employment agreement between the Howell Chamber and the Economic Development Corporation. They are simply providing a house. It is a county-wide organization, the way it was with Spark. It's going to report to the same council, which is a group of volunteers representing the entire county. They have to be, we have to put it somewhere. And the chamber is graciously providing, it's our most economically advantageous way to get a fresh start and make it a Livingston entity.
I get that. You gotta have a fresh start, you gotta start someplace, you gotta have a house. You gotta have an office someplace. I get that. But at the end of the day, we got well over 20,000 residents that we answer to. And I can't come up with a good reason. And I don't want to sit here and beat everybody up, for what should have and could have happened. One of the things that we used EDC for many years is when our industrial corporate citizens would come in for their tax abatements. We always relied on EDC. As of late, that's all been done in-house. And so I'm trying to get the value out of it that I can, when I have somebody, either email me or come in to the counter and say, okay, what's this $20,000 for EDC? Who, where, and what? I don't have anything to tell them. That's my problem. Now, it doesn't mean, and what you're hearing here, because I think we all have some reservations, and I want to try to sum it up. I have no problem seeing how you guys do and how you get your footing and how you develop. And it doesn't mean that a year from now, 2 years from now, we may decide to want to jump back in. I'm just not seeing it right now.
Well, be assured that whatever we're going to be able to fashion, given the diminishing levels of support that we're feeling, will do its utmost to support the businesses in your community. You have that commitment. This is a county-wide effort. I will also share with you, our funding comes from both public and private sector. We've had extremely encouraging conversations with DTE Energy, which historically has been a major benefactor to Ann Arbor Spark by virtue of their very large corporate presence there on Main Street. they are going to reconsider, the balance. They were contributing to the Livingston organization as well, but a fraction of what they were doing for Washtenaw. They're talking about rebalancing their commitment. Great Lakes Trust, had a very positive conversation with them. We've got a meeting with Tim Marshall, the CEO of Ann Arbor, the Bank of Ann Arbor, significant presence in Livingston. Tim and I go back many, many years together, so we're meeting with him for lunch shortly. We anticipate that the private sector side of our support will be fairly robust. They understand the importance of growing the economy here. So,
See, those are the kind of things that I'd be interested in seeing before making a decision and before
well,
making a
but
3-year commitment.
please understand,
I know.
we're in a chicken and egg
I
situation here,
know,
folks.
I
We
know.
we're asking you to put some faith in this, and we understand that that is not easy. Having said that, we cannot, execute the mission without significant support. And the more support we can show a candidate that, the kind of candidate that we want to bring in to make this a very professional organization is going to be contingent on the kind of support they're seeing from the townships and the county. So we are here to ask
Additionally-
you to deeply consider this. And if we can't do 3 years, if it's 1 year, we're just asking that you're an important constituent to the organization, and we would very much appreciate your support.
So what other local, when I say local, area townships are involved right now, committed?
I've been here for 2.5 weeks, sir.
Okay.
I will have to,
Yeah, I'm trying to.
we will be more than happy to,
Yeah, I don't know what level, or what your discussions have been with Hamburg Township and/or Brighton or the city of Brighton, so I don't know where they're at. I think I don't know about Brighton, I won't answer for that, but I think Hamburg may have some concerns too, but I don't know that for a fact.
no, I believe you're right about that. Let's face it, the fact that the county took the action that it did has colored the entire environment here in the county. And everyone's kind of looking over their shoulder, seeing, well, what are they going to do? And meanwhile, we've got a business to run, and we've got prospects calling that we need to, attend to. So we're in a tough situation, obviously, and we appreciate your hearing us out this evening. And we deeply respect that you've got, financial concerns, and you've got other demands on your budget.
And if I can, personally speaking, I've given my reluctance to spending, and committing this expenditure. I would prefer to decline the service agreement at this time with the Economic Development Council until such time as the EDC of Livingston County can come back with a strategic plan or a master plan or some plan outlining what it's going to do for the businesses and citizens of Green Oak Township.
With some measurables.
That with measurables. I mean, we need to see something other than an agreement. And I don't know how you do that. Pretty tall order, but and knowing the position you're in.
Well, we respect your position, and we will.
It's no different than Northfield Health and Human Services. They come every year and they ask for money, and we tell them, you need to show us what you're doing for Green Oak Township and how you're going to do it and what your plan is. And I can go same way with Southeast Livingston Recreational Authority, South Lyon Recreation Authority, South Lyon Seniors. They ask for money every year. They have to show us what they're doing. They have to show us what their plan is. That I think that's my feeling. This is a board decision, no.
I absolutely
It's extremely reasonable.
Yep.
Thank you.
Board, I think we need a motion to put that in place.
So moved.
Oh, thanks.
You made it. Support.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
All right, wait a minute. Well,
Motion to
motion to decline the,
agreement with the EDC of Livingston County.
till such time,
A plan with measurables is presented.
And strategic planning. And county support from different municipalities.
can institute a plan demonstrate deliverables
And other municipal support.
and other municipal support.
Yep.
Yeah, you get past performance measurable in there as well.
I don't know if they can really.
They
do
can't
that.
do it past-
With them being with Spark, they can't do that. That would be a huge ask.
Motion to decline the Livingston County EDC agreement until such time as they can institute a plan, a strategic plan, demonstrate deliverables, and other municipal support in Livingston County.
I'll second. Was that your motion, Dan?
That's just what I said.
My shorthand is horrible, okay, just know that. All right, we have a motion and support. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. And again, no disrespect tonight. We respect what you've done here tonight, and, you know, I think I have marching orders, you have marching orders.
It's just been really
Is that a good, fair way to put it?
And we heard you loud and clear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, now I just realized that,
You have an appointment for a board?
yeah, I have an appointment, there's no agenda sheet in there, there's nothing there.
No.
And I don't know how that happened. Okay. I received a request from,
He parked out there, David Letterman, so I think he's probably
Yeah,
going
he's
back.
going
Do
out
you want to
that
walk
way.
out to make sure he gets where he needs to go?
Get lost in there, you wind up.
Yeah.
okay, our assessor, Christina Yeager, brought to me the fact that we need to appoint another alternate for the Board of Review, and we have a resident, Peggy Leiby, Leiby, who's expressed an interest. She's a Green Oak taxpayer. She lives at 9761 Marshall Road. She's eager to contribute to the community. Peggy is a realtor in the community, and her father has been a member of the Board of Review and other units, and she's familiar with the boards, what the board is all about.
nice.
I'm reading from Christina's email. I think she's a good candidate, and I would like you to approve her appointment to the board for the 2025-2026 tax years. If you approve this appointment, I'll get her going on training to bring her up to speed before the board meets again in July. So it sounds like, and having a realtor on the Board of Review makes a lot of sense.
That's a big help.
Yeah.
Yep.
Somebody want to make a motion?
Well, you can, I thought.
Okay, I guess I'm going to make a motion to appoint Peggy.
Leiby.
Yep, Levy, I think it is, for the 2025-2026 Board of Review appointment.
Support.
Okay, we have motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much. I'm sorry about it not getting, I was trying to rush last week to get everything done. Any discussion items tonight? I've got one that I think is interesting. It has to do with the Water Authority. Back at the last meter reading, last quarter, Denise went out and she went with her handheld and she went around and she got her meter readings, which we've had trouble with that meter reader. And her and I have been looking for a replacement. She got back here after she took all her reads, and guess what? All the reads are gone. She had to go back out and get them again. So this started the conversation that Denise and I had is, okay, what are we gonna do about this meter reader? This is for the census meters. We have census meters and we have Metron meters. Now, we have been buying everything from Metron meters now because they go work with WaterScope, where we can pull them up on our screen. They communicate on a daily basis, so it's much easier to work with. Census does not support that meter reader anymore, and the fix to this was to convert the heads, but not the whole meters. And we were looking at an expenditure of about $49,000 to $57,000 to do this. The Water Authority Board said, well, why don't we just replace all the meters? We got extra money from the capital improvement program, the big bond that we sold. So Denise sat down, and I have to give Denise a lot of credit. She went through the list, found out how many 5/8 meters, how many 3/4 inch meters, how many 1 inch meters, how many 1.5 inch meters, how many 2 inch meters, how many 4 inch meters, all the way down through the list. She's
Commercial,
got
residential, everything.
everything. She's got all the serial numbers of all the meters. She put the list together, she got a quote, and this morning, with just receiving the quote this morning, the LCWA board approved a $120,000 expenditure to order all the new Metron meters. So that's cool that the Water Authority did it. It's cool that they took Denise's information, and I have to give Denise credit.
Yeah,
A lot of work.
it was a lot of work, and I will tell you, anybody that's on that system, when I started here, I was like, never did anything with water. And this WaterScope system, that you literally have somebody set up their account, and when they call and say, well, my water's bill's really high, they have a WaterScope account. You can go in and see if your toilet's flushed too many times, if you have a water leak in your irrigation system, how many times you've used your laundry. So say you do laundry 7 times a day, you're gonna tell your kids 5 times a day. So it's gonna be a really good thing for residents that can actually monitor their water, less calls for Highland treatment to fix these meters. And again, she was a rock star that we were just putting it in from information. I'm like, well, it's gonna take 3 months if we don't do something today, and the board was very supportive, and
That's awesome.
she already put the order in to say, hey, we're ready, as soon as Mark signed off, so we could start doing this process, but it's gonna take about 6 to 8 months to replace 185 meters between commercial and residential, but it's gonna be a really good thing for not only LCWA, but the residents that also are part of the Green Oak Water, and then obviously Brighton and Hamburg, that's part of the Water Authority, so, yeah.
But, you know, also, I mean, even though the Water Authority is paying for the utility billing, there's a certain amount of aggravation and a lot of work that goes with having 2 different systems. By having one system here will make, you know, Trish's department much easier to handle the utility billing for the water system. So I felt that was something cool that happened today, so.
Can we sell the old meters?
We will certainly put them out there, eBay or something, but yeah, somebody can buy the meters and they can put the census, whatever head it was on, so they do have some value, but, when I first started this, I thought, okay, get on the internet, start looking for somebody who's got a census meter reader, yeah, I can find them.
I hate to sound like a scrap man when this.
No, but
It's like,
no,
No.
it could be good money that comes back.
Sure be
to the
something,
township,
yeah.
Hey, if you can't sell them, J.D. Beavers will take them.
That's right.
So there's value there. But, it was just, again, it was just something that was cool today, and plus that, when somebody really steps out there and does a hard job, I think we have an obligation to acknowledge that.
Absolutely.
So, all right, anybody else have any discussion items? Committee reports? Executive session, there's none needed tonight, so we'll open the last call to the public. Now he's shaking his head no. All right, close the last call of the public, and at this time we stand adjourned.